So the patrons in their infinite wisdom have chosen for this Friday that we are going to complete the trifecta of Fate Stay Night, waifu tier list, or whatever you want to call these things, with a Rin tier list. And as you can see, we're having to get a little bit saucy with this one because there's not a whole lot of Rin faces in FGO. It's really just Ishtar, Space Ishtar, Space Ereshkigal, and normal Ereshkigal. So we're gonna be playing it up a little bit more for this one, so the video's not just 2 minutes long. But one of the other things that's interesting about this one is that if you are a longtime viewer of the channel, you will know that I am a huge fan of Ereshkigal, and I really can't stand Ishtar. Now, is this because of her characterization? Do I just not like her design? Well, that can't be true because Ereshkigal's the same thing but blonde. For one, the blonde does go absolutely hard, but the reason is my favorite character in all of Fate is Gilgamesh, and Ishtar is the source of all of that man's problems, right? I mean, we would still have Enkidu and Gilgamesh would be chilling if it wasn't for this woman just being a hot mess. We'll just say that. We'll say it in a very nice way. So I'm going to try to be a little unbiased in this video. I'm going to try to not let my bias towards or bias against Ishtar hold me back in this ranking. So let's just start off for free, right? Ereshkigal is like the best thing here. I really don't think there's anything that competes with Ereshkigal besides herself. Now, I guess if we're talking about the other space Ereshkigals, we're talking about which ones are, more peak or less peak. I do really like the Beast Ereshkigal version of her. Now, the entire thing with Space Ereshkigal having literally a girlfriend meter that is attached to how that character works, that's just asking to be a peak character, right? Like, that's just adorable. So they're all super dope, but I will say that I do slightly lean more kinda like that. Like, I think her swimsuit is fitting, but I do think it's not nearly as good as the Beast design or the purple hair design. I'm trying to stay away from Ordeal Call 3 spoilers because I know not everybody is a crazy person like me and reads stuff when it gets translated because they gotta know what the most recent lore is, but just know Space Ereshkigal, she's pretty dope, right? Like, it's literally just Ereshkigal, but super dope, right? He's just super adorable. I will share, and this might be a minor spoiler, but it's just for why she's a beast type character, and it's a thing that I really enjoy. So one of the things that was going on whenever we got this beast version of Ereshkigal, we were like, oh, well, there's no more people where she comes from. And it's like, well, then how is she a beast? It's like, nope, she just loves the one human, us, the master, so much that she was able to still become a beast, right? Even though there's nobody else available, she just loves the one person. And I think that is super wholesome, super cute. And with that, we now got to start talking about the other character. I'm trying to use my nice words on this one. So we'll do Space Ereshkigal or Space Ishtar first, because I actually do like Space Ishtar. Specifically, I really, and again, if you're a longtime viewer of the channel, you know that I'm a big Star Wars fan. I love me some Star Wars. I grew up with that, like, well, pretty much any child, I think, but I grew up with Star Wars a lot. So whenever they did Saber Wars 2, and I was like, I don't really care about Ishtar, I hate Ishtar, but then they were like, oh, no, 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 we're gonna do a Star Wars meme for this one, and I was like, oh, hold on, pause. They gave her this, dope looking outfit as well. I really like this Ascension for Space Ishtar, and she is a different character. Like, as far as going into how they interact and whatnot, these two, the Astarte and the first Ascension for Space Ishtar, do feel like they're kind of different characters. This one just kind of feels like normal Ishtar, so I'll be nice and we'll put her there. She's a part of a different. I can't be that nice. I can't be that nice. But these two, I do really like. This one I'll actually bump up into here, into this upper echelon tier. I'm a really big fan of Astarte. Now, people that were there when we were playing Saber Wars 2 will also know I am not a huge fan of the costume. In fact, if I see people on the friends list rocking this the blue costume, I'm like, they didn't read Saber Wars 2, because literally at the end of the event, the pink Space Ishtar over here, the Astarte, looks at the blue one, like verbatim says, "You're a loser, you're a fraud, get out of here," and then beats her up. And that is so funny. I will always rep the pink Space Ishtar just for that alone. It's crazy lazy work, looking at the other version of yourself being like, you suck, you're a loser, get out of here, I'm booty blasting you into another dimension. So we'll always rep the pink one, and then I will always like this one for, it's a bit of a Star Wars meme. That's kind of cool. This one just kind of being normal Ishtar, not a big fan of. I will say that when she originally came out, I did like this Ascension's design, but I do think I like normal Ishtar's design a bit more. And I like what she's doing a bit in this design. So like normally it should look like this, but I think I'm gonna be a little bit of a better man. I'm gonna show that I'm capable of change. We can move forward. We can kind of bury the hatchet a little bit between me and Ishtar, and I will at least put her in C. She at least gets a passing grade, right? If this is in grade school and we were going, or I guess any school, doesn't have to be grade school, but if you were in school, and I would just say, what, Ishtar, you get a C, because I do really like my girl failures, and it's hard for me to not like that about Ishtar. I mean, things are just funny, dude. Like, in all of Babylonia, she just can't do anything right. Most notably, it culminates in, well, as long as we have Gugalana, we're gonna crush Tiamat. We're gonna destroy her. And she said, I lost it. What do you mean you lost this gigantic heavenly I get that's part of the comedy, but it's like, how do you girl fail that hard? How are you this good at being a fail girl that you lost Gugalana? That's hilarious. Now, I will say, Ryder Ishtar does get a little bit more points for me. I do really like not Summer. I was gonna say Summer Wars 2, but Summer 2, because the whole point of that is you get to do this whole race thing, which I really liked when I was playing through. You get to vote on the different people on which car you wanted to win, and I really liked all the Summer characters we got from that year as well. I thought it was a pretty interesting story, especially the jailbreak part. I was surprisingly found enjoyable, but the thing that really makes me like Ryder Ishtar a lot. One, it's the tablet, because Gilgamesh literally gives her the fail girl tablet that she has to walk around, which I think is hilarious. But then there's also the fact that the whole point of that is that she can resurrect Gugalana, and then she just gets jump Kaizened, and then Quetzalcoatl picks up Gugalana, flips it, and it dies. And then Ishtar's like, well, I didn't factor into my plan that there were some strong servants in Chaldea. I didn't really think that there were strong people in this race, which, to be fair, I mean, you got people like, Nero and Saber Alter, you've got like Raiko. These are some strong characters, but they're not like these godly strong people. So I can understand why Ishtar would be like, yeah, like Gugalana can take these people. Sure, they're not bad, but they're not like these insanely OP servants. They're not the first people that come to your mind, especially because Saber Alter is LARPing as a maid for the entirety of the thing, right? But then, it's just hilarious. Quetzalcoatl comes in and is just like, yeah, you hired me as, the jail lady, so I'm gonna put this guy in jail. I'm gonna flip him. The only thing that is kind of weird about that, though, is that Nobu is there, and like Nobu's whole thing is like anti-divinity and anti-mystery. So I think she would actually, Nobu might actually do really good into Gugalana, unless Gugalana just steps on her, because Fate, or I should say FGO Nero, not Nero, but Nobu is like all about like getting gagged and stuff. I mean, in not Kenshin, but Kagetora's event, so many different servants, got to get all their names right. But in that event, I mean, they literally just call her Foot Soldier Nobu. Like, she just gets absolutely disrespected the entire time, and it's really, really funny. But I think that's what I'm looking at for this tier list. I think this is kind of where I'm mapping everything out. You guys can let me know in the comment section down below if you agree or disagree on this one. As per usual, I'll leave it in the description if you would like to make your own tier list. But I think with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Again, if you would like to have some input on these videos, if you're like, man, I want ZTL to make, I don't, you saw the Liz tier list, as long as it's democratically voted on, I'll make the video. But if you're like, man, I wanted to make the caster tier list, then you could join the Patreon down in the description down below, and that will give you access to the chat in the Discord where people get to vote on these things. So with all that being said, I think that is it. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, stop yapping, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.